The rose petal. The rose petal is very easy. And this is to make the roses. Again, you do not need to heat seal or wood burn. We're not going to see anything. I have many, many, many tutorials on how to make the rose. The petal is very easy. All you do for the rose, again, 10 by 10 piece. You can even skimp and do 9 by 10 if you're low on mesh, or if you're not sure, because sometimes the mesh rolls, they say it's 10 yards, but it's not really 10 yards, and you really need that extra 2 inches. You won't know that until the end, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I have to open up a whole roll. So sometimes I do skimp and do it 9 inches. It won't matter because you won't be able to tell. So for this demonstration purpose, this is 10 inches. All you're going to do, curl up, take your corner, bring it down to your other corner, and scrunch about 2 inches up. It gives you an umbrella formation like that, or a stingray. That's the rose petal. That's it. I find the rose is best made. My favorite rose to do is using 21-inch mesh. And I do the petal exactly like this, except when I do 21-inch mesh, I fold it and then I fold it back over again, and it gives me a lot of mesh. So it's nice and it's got good coverage, and it's really color saturated. I would not do a rose with thin mesh. So the cheap mesh that you literally can see through, if you do a rose with it without doubling each piece, guaranteed you will see through to the board. Even a wire frame, you will see the wire. If you are using a cheaper mesh, like the ombre mesh is absolutely stunning. That would be mesh you would buy from like Hobby Lobby or something. It's gorgeous. However, it's very, very see-through, and you have to double each piece. Same with a value mesh. You will have to double each piece. If you do a 21-inch mesh, and I have tutorials on both styles, 21-inch and 10-inch, I have quite a few. You have to really decide what kind of mesh you have and to determine how you're going to make your rose. This is a normal deco mesh, but it's a wide foil. It's really, really pretty. If I'm making a rose with 10-inch mesh, this and fabric mesh is my favorite to use. It's got a wider foil, and it hides a lot because of the foil, and of course it's sparkly. So you would only need 1 piece for every zip tie if you're using wide foil mesh. Okay, so you only need 2 pieces per petal if you're using value or the cheapy thin mesh. If you're using a fabric mesh, so let's use this green again because I have it cut. The fabric mesh is my favorite as well to make a rose. It's got great coverage. It gives that nice puffy look that we want. If you use cheaper mesh, or if you use a poly burlap to make a rose, your rose is going to look like a cinnamon bun, I promise. Because the poly burlap, because it's such a stiff plastic, will not give you, okay, so this would be my rose petal. Do you see how it's like it's flat? Okay, and but once we put it in the rose style, your edges are going to be flat. And poly burlap is expensive. Do not waste your poly burlap in making a rose, okay? It just does not look as nice as a deco mesh or a fabric mesh. The fabric mesh, you'll see in a second, will give that nice puffiness. Now this one's been used already, but let me try it the other way. Once I put it in, it gives that nice rounded puffiness, and it will stay like that. So once I bring this in and put it into the zip ties, you'll have to watch the tutorial, but it gives that puffiness, and it doesn't look like a cinnamon bun. Okay, so my recommendations for roses is fabric mesh, and all our kits, rose kits, have fabric mesh, because if I like the fabric mesh, then I'm going to give the fabric mesh to you guys, right? I wouldn't give value mesh in a rose kit if I wouldn't personally use it. And a wide foil deco mesh, or 21 inch. 21 inch is my absolute favorite for making the rose, but it's more expensive. 21 inch is more expensive. So fabric mesh or wide foil mesh, okay? When searching for wide foil mesh, wherever you are shopping, in the search bar, just type in wide foil. And if they sell it, it will come up. Okay? That's the rose.